Hi, I'm Leon Tolmay, and welcome back to the St. John the Apostle Apologetic Society. Today we will continue our journey in considering arguments and counter-arguments for the existence of God. There are alternatives to invoking God. There could have been multiple previous or simultaneous universes, and we are merely living within the one that was conducive to our existence. This is a version of the anthropic principle, which essentially states that the reason we can ask the question of the existence of God is because we exist in a universe which was conducive to our being here. If this had not been the case, we would not exist and hence not be able to ask the question. This is a circular argument and does not conform to logic. Any scientist worth his salt completely ignores the validity of this argument. Additionally, the multiverse and the theory that the universe originated from a previous universe both suffer from the problem of infinite regression. In other words, where did the other universes come from? Another argument is God's existence cannot be rescued by claiming that life is so improbable that it could only come about if the universe were fine-tuned by a supernatural force. Here, believers claim that the constants in the universe that made it possible for life to emerge are so unlikely that the stage could not have been set by other than a divine being. However, we have nothing to compare our universe to. Therefore, we cannot point to a million universes and notice that they are lifeless, and thus affirm that the appearance of life in our universe was so unlikely that a supernatural force had to jumpstart it. The answer to this is why not? You are arguing the contrary and have as little evidence to support your claims as I do. Facetiousness aside, speaking to individual scientists in their fields, from cosmologists, astrophysicists through to biologists and evolutionary theorists, each will attest to the extreme unlikelihood of the existence of the precise set of circumstances required for the existence of their set of prerequisite conditions within their field. Combining all of these probabilities creates a final probability infinitesimally lower than the individual probabilities. That being said, there is still a chance that this could have occurred purely by accident, if we ignore the infinite regression of self-creating universes. However, an alternative explanation could also be considered, that being that it requires a universe this large in order to ensure that life would evolve into what we see today on a single planet. This once again brings back intelligent design. However, not on the scale normally argued, eyes are perfect, etc., but rather on a scale the size of the universe. Can either an atheist or a theist prove his point conclusively? Unfortunately, the answer is no. To both Christians and atheists, their own opinion is based on faith alone. So, it seems that we are not all that different after all. Another argument is God's existence cannot be rescued by claiming that the emergence of life on Earth demonstrates an underlying intelligent design. Well, we've already covered that in the previous argument. Some say that one cannot prove that God doesn't exist because one cannot prove a negative hypothesis of the claim that God exists includes that He presents supernatural events to us constantly. Then one can by proxy have an argument proving that God does not exist because of His inactions. Yet, this is a strange argument. I would say that there is evidence, or lack of evidence, of no God. If there were supernatural events happening all around us, we could see it constantly. But there are no events like this other than personal experiences, which can exist within all religions and even some non-believers. If there was a God, his influence upon us would produce events that science would not be able to explain. But all of the natural events can be explained by science, hence there must not be a God. Huh. Okay, quite a long argument, but it has a few fallacious arguments in this. If there are miracles that science cannot explain, see our section on the previous video. That is not to say that they may not sometime in the future be explained by science. This I concede. However, there is at least some basis for belief in a God that enables these. In the case of absence of evidence, one cannot conclude the contrary. An example is, Mike says he has a red Ford Mustang. I drove past his house and did not see it. Hence, he does not own one. One can immediately see the fallacy in such type of an argument. Unfortunately for the second argument, once again, the Catholic Church has an extremely rigorous procedure for identifying whether or not a potential miracle can be classified as real. This is accomplished by utilizing highly competent scientists that not only utilize their own opinions, but additionally consult with field leaders in the respective fields. For this reason, the majority of suspected miracles are found to have plausible natural explanations. There still remains, however, a small but significant number of these which retain miracle status. Hence, the second argument is completely false. You can go and check up for yourself. That's what Google's for. Injustice. Destinies are not allocated on the basis of merit or equality. They are allocated either arbitrarily or on the principle of to him who has shall be given, and from him who has not shall be taken even that which he has. It follows that God cannot be all-powerful and all-knowing, and also just in the human sense of the word. One cannot escape a feeling of déjà vu here. Nevertheless, let's continue once again. Man has been provided with free will. See free will on our previous videos and why it is not contradictory. And hence, it is man that makes the decisions that result in injustice. And it is through mankind's decisions that individuals will be judged. The atheist makes the error in logic of assuming that God and an afterlife does not exist, and this is all there is. Hence, the fact that there is injustice in the world proves there is no God. This is called circular logic. However, if there is an afterlife that is eternal, the injustices one observes, although against the teachings of God, is not all there is, and is merely an extremely temporary nature. God does not agree with the fact that injustice occurs, but he has provided us with freedom of choice. To those who suffer injustice, however, God has provided solace for that which they must endure. See the Sermon on the Mount. Multiplicity. Since the gods of various religions differ wildly in their characteristics, only one of these religions or none can be right about God. Strangely enough, though the majority of religions have a belief in God, one cannot blame the diversity of opinions which has come about by persons expressing their various sentiments, see free will, as a valid reason for not believing in God. It is for this very reason that the Church welcomes science and logic. We'll see a section on the Church and science to come to the aid in resolving disputes. Simplicity. Since God is invisible and the universe is no different than if he did not exist, it's simpler to assume he does not exist. Okay, and most of the time they quote Occam's razor. Why? Yes, it's far simpler to believe in an infinite regression of universes, each one springing forth from the previous, or a multitude of universes, each existing with their own special dimensions, or the universe occurring trillions of times until it formed into what it is today, all of which are extremely complicated, suffer infinite regression, and a lack of credible cause. Shouldn't it be Christians quoting Occam's razor? Thank you so much for tuning in. There will be additional videos dealing with the existence of God and arguments for and against. Please tune in to these when they become available. Have a great day and God bless.